Howdy, howdy, lads, MBs, and lasses. If you live in the Harris Branch neighborhood in Austin, Texas, my name's Anthony, and I'm your neighbor. This is another Harris Branch residential HOA update. This coming in to you from the January meeting, the first one of this year, of which I am now a board member. Big props to everyone who voted for me in the election last year. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we can get some stuff done this year, and I'll keep you updated with these videos on what's going down at these meetings. First meeting in the year, January 19th. Again, these happen every third Thursday of the month at 6:30. You can always join via Zoom. The link is sent out via the Town Square. The link to Town Square is in the description below, along with other important information and community resources that you should check out. The meeting was called to order. A quorum was established. All 5 members were there. The 2 new board members, Valerie and myself, were present. The 3 remaining board members, Mike, David, and Vanessa, were also present. 2, we had a homeowner forum. Homeowner forums are where homeowners come and voice their concerns, opinions, praises, things of that nature. It seemed there was complaints. One homeowner was complaining about trash along Gilliland Creek. This creek runs over by St. Marin near Thistle Hill, close to the cross street of Kilbarchan. There has always been a lot of trash in that area. I will actually upload a short when I clean that creek out. We do have an upcoming clean out coming for that creek that I organized. So if you're interested, simply drop a comment below and let me know, and I can send you the details on when we put together that clean out. Normally all it is just a couple of hours of us going down in there, picking up the trash, bringing it out, and put it into dumpsters that we get from our neighbors. So that way we're not buying a bunch of extra plastic bags and sending those to the landfill. Another major concern, one that I've had for a couple years now, and many of you as well, has been the sidewalks. There has been incidents of people falling on them. At this point, what we need to do is continue to message and submit requests to 311. Hopefully you're putting in a geotag in that and showing a picture of the issue with the sidewalk. The sidewalks, from my understanding, are run by the city of Austin, and so therefore the HOA doesn't have jurisdiction over them. Most of them should be able to be lifted with foam, maybe even ground down. However, at this point, what we need is you guys to get out there and mass report these issues with these sidewalks, so that way the city of Austin will take note and come out and start doing repairs on them. I know that there was talk about possibly putting together language so that way you could include that in your request to 311. Once that comes out, or even if I create it, I'll post it here and then I'll post it on Nextdoor, so that way you can just cut and copy and send in the request. 3, approved prior December 15, 2022 meeting minutes. That was done. 4, the treasurer's report. We did not have a treasurer there as Jorge is no longer with us. Interesting fact, I found out something we need to consider in the future. That individual wasn't even living in this neighborhood. He just owned rental properties in our neighborhood and was able to sit on the board. So I think something that we'll have to do, something we're going to have to change with the 67% rule that is keeping us back from changing most of our bylaws, is to look into making sure that anyone who's sitting on the board actually lives in the neighborhood and who isn't just a landlord who's renting out their home in this neighborhood. In the treasury report, Mike covered those, the president. He talked about the landscaping enhancement. There was $40,000 for rock beds and plants. You'll see these along St. Marin. Those were where the large lacebark elm were once. Those trees were eviscerated in the winter storm because they were non-native invasives and they were not suited for this climate and perished, causing us quite a bit of coin loss when it came to removing them. And now we are redoing those beds. Unfortunately, it looks like they just put in small succulents, things that aren't going to really grow up and create much shade for those sidewalks again. Something also to consider, and has been a major concern of mine, especially when you look at this budget, we spend $12.5 thousand as a fixed cost on our landscaping and maintenance, which mainly includes them just mowing and cutting. Unfortunately, I found out that they also spray pesticides and they spray fertilizer on the grass, which hopefully this year I'll be able to push for having that stopped. We definitely don't need the runoff of fertilizer and pesticides running through our waterways, and we definitely don't need to be footing the bill for that just to have falsely green colored grass. There was mention about the street services have doubled. I suspect that is going on with the city. This is something that Goodwin is going to look into. There is a Telcel pager line item on the budget. This again is listed at Town Square. It was 4 times the budget. This seems to have come from the AT&T DSL services that was being run at the amenity center. Now that the additional building has been built next to the amenity center, where Raquel will be having her office, the provider we have moved to is going to be Spectrum, and it will be fiber. So this should be the last cost for us from AT&T as we move over to fiber with Spectrum. The master HOA dues, if you're not familiar with the master HOA, it is the second HOA of which there are 5 board members, one of which I am. Mike, David, Gary, and Johnny are also members on that board, as well as a developer. This was set up for the commercial properties along Harris Branch Parkway. Those are maintained by that HOA, although we in the residential HOA pay the cost for that master. So that total came out to $201,046. This mainly, again, ends up being us just paying to mow and cut grass. Unfortunately, I think the stance of the HOA needs to be roll back the aggressive attitudes towards lawns, reduce mowing, and start doing actual landscaping in these areas with bushes and trees. So that way we don't have to spend as much money and time on just cutting grass. 5, the president's report. Mike kind of disseminated that throughout the rest of the meeting. So we'll move on to 6, community manager report. Raquel went over the Town Square website update. I had submitted some pictures that I'd taken for this channel to her, so that way she can add those to that website. That link is in the description below. The Thistle Hill Monument, I'm sure everyone's seen. It's been going through repairs over there by the fire department. There has been an issue with the footer that wasn't poured correctly back when it was first installed. So one of our vendors is out there redoing that correctly, and that should probably be done by the end of this week. There was an incident back last year, or maybe even later. The dumpster over by the amenity center, the gate was hit by one of the truck drivers. That company was engaged, and they sent out a check to pay for that damage after we had it repaired. Unfortunately, that check hasn't come through, so right now Raquel with Goodwin is working on signing documents to say we didn't get that check, so please send us another one, and then that will be squared away once that check actually makes it to us. There is some issues in the gym. The treadmill items that they had ordered didn't fit, so they now have to reorder. There is a screen on one of those treadmills apparently that is not working, a touch screen, so that's an additional thing that our vendors are going to have to go in and take a look at and troubleshoot. She discussed the monument lights for the large Harris Branch monuments along Harris Branch Parkway. It looks like they had those lights replaced. Those were expensed to the master. The security cameras are being installed at the amenity center. This is a renewal of the current security system as well as an addition to the new building where there will be cameras installed. The tennis court access control, that $6,500 expense has gone. It looks like those have been installed. So it seems that the last year there had been no access control on the tennis courts, so people were able to come freely and easily. Now you will have to have a access card, an additional barrier for folks to use the amenities. At this point, it seems with the new knowledge that there hadn't been locks on the tennis courts this entire time, you can go back and see how much I wasn't a big fan of wasting $6,500 on this. Turns out we hadn't had it to begin with this last year, and everything was working out fine, and it would have been cheaper just to replace nets as if it was even needed. So big L there for the previous board, that being Gary, David, Mike, and Jorge, who voted for approval on that. There has been an ongoing saga, more in the master side, for the fountain at the lake along Harris Branch Parkway. There are multiple pumps there, it seems, and there has been an issue, one where a fish had made it through the screen, causing the pump to be clogged. Another one ended up being a short. So right now, Aquatic Features and the board has been working on getting those parts in. Again, those parts have been delayed, of course, with our socioeconomic system. We are having a lot of issues getting parts in from vendors, but as far as we know, that is back on track to be repaired, and then that fountain should be working again. She talked about the final phase of the fence project. This is the cleaning and staining of fences that the HOA is responsible along certain thoroughways. Not all thoroughways are the HOA's responsibility. Keep that in mind, especially along St. Marion. Those fences are owned by the homeowners. What I would suggest is the HOA just put in a green wall of bushes and plants along these sidewalks, so that way you can't even see those fences, because then that avoids the whole property owner dealing with the HOA trying to take over their fence and then maintaining that fence, or us being fined for our fences. 7A, the neighborhood representatives. Gary was not there, so there was not much of an update. B, fence committee, kind of talked about phase 3's coming through. Martin hasn't been there since the committee was created and got the approval from the board. C, the architectural change, nothing new. Raquel said there's an average of 9 projects moving through. 30 days are allowed, but usually 2 weeks total is how long they have to approve those. D, the amenity center expansion. The lien from Alamo Concrete was circa $20K, and the lien from Cooper General Contractor. The understanding from the board, from the attorney, is a successful negotiation with Alamo on paying half of the lien. The attorney believes it will finalize and be fine. The completion for building permit change approval for Goodwin to finish the missing pieces we needed to complete, and that ended up being $5,000 total, which was drastically less than what it was going to be from the contractor we had originally contracted with. E, communications, no real update there. F, arts and crafts, no update there. I believe that day is going to get changed, or rather that time, but it's still on the books to be happening this year. 8, old business. A, the property manager welcoming program and orientation process, waiting on revision from Raquel and Gary Belcher. There was no update on that from Raquel. I think that's all pretty much wrapped up and just waiting for the occupancy for the amenity building. B, ratify board approved amenity center rental agreement. This was done. From my understanding, what we voted on is that there would only be a $50 deposit, and then the total for the clean is a $50 fee. So there shouldn't be any extra profit being taken from homeowners for you to rent that space. The cost is only to ensure we have something in case something gets damaged, and the $50 is for the cleanup fee after your party has left. C, the Samsung project. No update on that. I feel like the HOA got rolled pretty hard on that, especially when you consider how big of a pocket Samsung has, and especially considering the damage that they did to our community and the ecosystem that we live in and depend on. All we got was 2 kiosks, 1 butterfly garden, and then they cleaned out some poison ivy apparently. So there should be an update coming from Mike in the newsletter, so I'm sure it will be very corporation friendly. So expect a little bit of greenwashing and a little chest thumping on the great work that our neighbor Samsung has done in trying to remedy the destruction that they have caused multiple times. D, pool hours extension. This is something I've talked about before. I don't think we should do lifeguards. I think we should do swim at your own risk at all times. That would save us over $70,000 a year. Ultimately, best way to figure out if we need it or not is we need to set up an electronic voting system and vote it out to the homeowners, and majority rule. That's what we should do. At this point, though, they're going to keep the lifeguards. They're working on a new contract. Again, another $70,000 to $80,000 cost to the neighborhood, but they are going to look at doing extended hours. However, because they're not going to do it just only swim at your own risk and with lifeguards, we're having to look into how we will do the access control. There is a specific thing we'll have to do if we do swim at your own risk that only allows access to that area during the certain times that's available. In addition to that, there will need to be lights installed. Luckily for us, the pool is about to be plastered, so this is a great time for us to go ahead and have those lights installed that will make it capable for you to swim at your own risk when it's dark in the morning or dark at night. E, ratify board approved Heinz Pools pool room refurbishment proposal. This, I believe, is they're going to revamp the control room inside the amenity building. It's a closet that had a lot of our equipment for security, pumps, the filtration system. So this company is going to go in and redo that or bring it up to a much better operating procedures than what it currently is. F, discussion on the irrigation proposal to be installed at dog park due to cracks in ground. Landscapes proposed adding a truck of dirt to fill cracks. Expect continued cracking due to clay in area. Lack of substantial trees to provide soil stabilization and shade adds to the impact of summer heat. Community manager will also seek estimates from landscapes to add trees like the size type used along Harris Branch Parkway. Seeking a homeowner dog park use committee. I believe I just saw a notification go out on Town Square requesting homeowners who would be interested in that. I, of course, am going to be on that, especially with my history of trying to defend the various few trees that we were able to get planted in there. I planted myself that the landscapers weren't constantly mowing over. So if you join, we'll get to work together. Hopefully, we can get some good stuff done with the dog park, mainly in the sense of getting more shade and tree cover out there so it's a lot more enjoyable when you're out there with your pups. G, ratify board approved PRO masonry, Thistle Hill monument repair. Talked about that earlier. You've probably seen it. It's already underway and should be done shortly. H, the Alamo concrete settlement offer for the lien. Talked about that earlier and in previous videos. You can always go back and listen to those. I, Phase 3 of the Clean Stain project will be scheduled with Classic Seal in 2023. This will be reserve fund expenditure per reserve study. This is the fences talked about earlier. J, tennis court locks proposal approved last month. That's been talked about and it's already done. You should have gotten a notification letting you know that you will need an access control card now to go to that amenity. K, the budget master amount confirmed. Talked about that earlier. L, the separate reserve monthly financial financial income statement. That has not been completed. They're waiting for financial balance sheets for reserve costs and the income/budget. M, homeowner from Parkside expressed a concern of the anti-dog bark acoustic device installed by a neighbor, which is having a negative health behavior impact on pets in 2-block radius. Device can be sensed by people. Homeowner provided an HOA rules reference that would appear to apply to this resident operating the devices in a rental unit. Actual homeowner has been contacted without success since the owner has nothing in the lease that would allow intervention with the tenant. Request is for the HOA board managed to help resolve the issue. Resident proposed a motion for amendment in the bylaws, and resident was notified that changes bylaws require 2/3 majority. Reports have been made via 311. An additional neighbor also confirmed the complaint resident was asked to provide background and specifics to community manager. Community manager will seek legal advice regarding the path to resolution. At this point, the update is the board is still going after her. This started before I was on the board. I don't agree with banning these devices. I think they're a useful tool for situations in which people have dogs that they maybe are acclimated to, and they think that the sound that their pupper's producing is not a nuisance or an issue. However, in this situation, I think the board, and I'll bring this up again, that we need to also be going after the person with the dog who is barking that has caused this entire thing to start in the first place. Because unfortunately, at this point, we've only ever heard about the people who are pro-dog next to them and say the dog doesn't bother them. I appreciate that, and I'm sure most of us do. We need to hear from the other side and not just go after the person who's trying to reduce the dog barking in the neighborhood. And that being said, if you have issues with dogs barking, please get on to the next month's meeting and let Mike and David and Raquel know this, because they seem to think that there is not an issue with dogs barking and that we should be going after folks with these devices. And a homeowner from Glencoe expressed concern of unauthorized use of the dog park by an owner who has 4 wolf hybrid dogs that have gotten loose, and 2 of the dogs attacked the owners in their neighborhood. This has been reported to police. Initial response was cite the owner. Dog owners live north of Harris Branch, use the Harris Branch dog park frequently. Animals are not leashed when they are let out of the van and sent toward dog park. Owners request some sort of cease and desist action by the HOA. Signage at the dog park states residents only. Details have been provided to the community manager. Names of owners are known by Glencoe residents through social media. HOA action will be discussed with legal for next steps to preclude further trespassing. Once HOA has taken action to notify dog owners, further trespassing can be referred to the police. This should be wrapped up. The notifications have been sent to the owner of those problematic dogs, and at this point, if they are there, you can call the HOA, Raquel, or any one of us on the board. We can come over and press trespassing charges against those folks who are not residents in our neighborhood and using the dog park. As far as we know, we haven't heard any updates on them being there after the fact, so hopefully that is all behind us and we can move forward. 9, new business. Elections. So we had elections. Now this will be an interesting segment. I am now your new vice president by a 3-2 vote. Of course, Mike and David didn't really want me in any position of power. The remaining officers, Mike is still the president, and Vanessa has taken on secretary. Valerie didn't feel comfortable becoming the treasurer her first year. Unfortunately, we asked David to do it. David is very good at checking the budget. In fact, that's mainly most of his questions and concerns, at least over the last 6 years that I've seen him on the board. Fortunately, he did not feel motivated to take on the treasurer position. He said he had already done it and didn't want to do it. I followed up after I asked Mike if it's okay if I do both, because, I'm certainly willing to put in the time and work for this community if I can do both. And I then even asked David, I said, David, even as a commitment to the community, if this is a need of you that we have, you still won't do this job? And he said no. Something to consider, because he's up for re-election. Maybe we want somebody in here who doesn't just want to sit in a seat of power and not actually do any of the work that is needed for our board to function properly. It's unfortunate that David didn't want to do that, but at next meeting we'll reconvene and see if he's changed his mind. And if not, then I will also be taking on the role of treasurer. So wish me luck. B, the speed measurement devices have been installed on Bellingham Drive. Are these a worthwhile investment for installation on streets in Harris Branch that have often speeding vehicles, particularly on Harris Branch Parkway, Farmhaven, and St. Marin? Community manager will inquire about feasibility for the HOA. At this point, this is going to be traffic control. Traffic control is going to be something that's a jurisdiction of the city of Austin, not necessarily HOA. I think what it will take is trending complaints to 311 again, so that way we can get those installed installed by the city as a traffic control device. Please understand that along those thoroughways, I've covered this before, there will not be speed bumps installed. Our best thing to do in lieu of speed bumps, and the reason why we won't have speed bumps is because emergency vehicles use that road, and you don't want your emergency vehicles constantly going over wear and tear when they're trying to get to emergency situations. Plus, it slows them down. But something that helps reduce speeding, this is proven time and time in traffic control studies, is narrowing the streets. So what we should be doing is requesting for bike lanes and footpaths to be cut in on these super wide streets like St. Marin and Farmhaven, so that way it automatically helps drivers reduce their speed, because it makes it so that they're less able to view further ahead of them, so they're less confident to go faster. Hopefully in the future we'll have some language that we can put into a 311 request, again, sort of like with the sidewalks, where you can just control cut and control paste it, and we can get this trending with the city. 10, the executive session, there was none. 11, we adjourned the meeting. And with that, hopefully this has been a valuable update. If you want to stay up to date on these meetings, simply hit that like and subscribe button. That way you'll get a notification. It's totally free to subscribe. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or praises, drop some comments below or send me a message. I'll also post these on Nextdoor, so that way other people can keep up to date as well. And with that all being said, y'all stay safe out there. Take care.